Coffee with Craig. Had a fantastic weekend. California Republican Party held its convention here in Sacramento. Had a chance to actually talk with a lot of you folks who've been watching. I want to let you know how much I very much appreciate you coming. Let me know that you watch. Let me know that you tune in and sharing with me some of your perspectives on the issue. It's nice to know that there are still some folks out there who firmly believe in the right to keep and bear arms and support civil rights in general. So today, what we're going to talk about, assault rifles. I know all of you out there right now are saying there's no such thing as an assault rifle. I'm using the quote thing. That's because that's the word that they use. It's not a word that I use. It's the word that they use. But I wanted to talk about how, and part of this is kind of also about how the mainstream media does things. Like there's an article that was in the Chicago Tribune. And the title of the article is this: Some Chicago gangs turning to rifles for added firepower, police say. Now, the interesting thing about this particular article is that the emphasis of the whole article is on rifles, not on gangs. Go figure. Even the study that they recently did talking about gang violence or talking about violence in the city of Chicago. Recently, they did a study that was called the University of Chicago Crime Lab put together a study, and what they focused on and talked about was the issue in Chicago is not guns, it is gangs. But nonetheless, the Chicago Tribune decided to focus on not the gangs, but the guns, and not even the guns, but a small cross-section of guns. And talking about how it seems like more and more they're going after these military-style assault weapons in order to commit crimes. But you have to kind of dig through the article, and you get all the way down. You go all the way down somewhere in something like the 42nd paragraph, right? Somewhere down the 49th paragraph. And in there it says, rifle seizures are still rare and didn't crack the list of the 20 most seized types of guns in 2014, according to the latest breakdown from the police department. So, it didn't even break the top 20. They're still rare, but somehow, some way, the media, the Chicago Tribune, decided to focus on the fact that somebody somewhere decided, hey, we're going to go get a rifle, or we're going to go get a long gun and use it to commit a crime. According to federal statistics, like I said, less than 3%, or no, about 3%, 3.2% of all crimes that are committed, gun crimes that are committed with all rifles or all long guns. The percentage that are committed with semi-automatic long guns is smaller than that. How do I know? Because the percentage of long guns is smaller than that. In other words, it's just a subset of all long guns. Yet somehow in urban inner cities, in places like Detroit, or places like Chicago, or in Illinois, or in California, or places where they're working in the West Coast Wall, their goal, their desire is to ban these quote-unquote military-style assault weapons. So let me get this straight. So they want to ban guns that are not used in gun crimes or in gun violence, or rarely used in gun violence. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to do that? Especially, think about it. The AR-15 is the most commonly owned rifle, the most commonly owned firearm in the country. So it's the most commonly owned, but yet it's rarely used in gun violence. But they want to ban it. Why? Because they're scary. Because they're scary. Because they make people feel like, well, but they're just so scary. And I was watching. Yes, I will confess, I watch Arrow, and they did a whole episode. I don't know if you guys watched this. They did a whole episode on quote unquote gun violence. And the amount and the number of inaccuracies when it came to the statistics, when it came to the technology, it was maddening. It was utterly maddening because they've made up their mind and they're going to twist the statistics, they're going to twist the information, and they're going to flat out, in some cases, lie in order to get what it is that they want, in order to make themselves feel validated in how they feel. Let me just give you, yeah, I got to go there. Feelings, nothing more than feelings, because that's all they got, feelings. Anyway, so to make a long story short, which I guess is a little bit too late, it's once again, it's really important that we make sure that we share all of the right statistics. When we see crazy stuff like this, we need to make sure to call it out. So I want to make sure to thank the folks at Truth About Guns, because they're the ones who actually pointed this out. The folks at Truth About Guns actually pointed out this article, and I very much appreciate the fact that they did. And I hope you guys make it a point to share their article or share this video about their article. In order to make sure that folks know and understand that, yeah, the facts and the information that the media is putting out there, the fake news, shall we say, is not necessarily accurate. And that's one of the problems with civic journalism. Civic journalism used to be about helping people to become informed about issues so that they can get engaged, but it's not supposed to be about advocacy. And unfortunately, papers like the Chicago Tribune, the Sacramento Bee, the LA Times, New York Times, broadcasters like MSNBC, ABC, CBS, even Fox News, to a certain degree on the other side of the aisle, have gotten not into reporting the news, but have got into advocating. And I think that that undermines their credibility and adds to criticisms of quote unquote fake news. So let's see what you folks have to say. Because they think they have, this is Andrew, because they think they have momentum to ban something, and banning has to start somewhere. Yes, they think they have momentum. And once again, keep in mind, a lot of this is based on a PR campaign, a well-funded PR campaign by Michael Bloomberg and several other billionaires and multimillionaires who know that the public in general is not on their side. So they have to create a narrative that they believe will then get the public on their side. Why? Because it is not about crime, it's about power. And as long as we can fight, they cannot take power. And that's exactly what most tyrannical governments do. A tyrannical government, the first thing that they do is they seek to disarm the citizenry. That's what they want to do. And in cases like California, yes, we do have a tyrannical government. Last year, they ignored almost every one of their own rules in order to pass legislation that would severely infringe upon our right to keep and bear arms. That is the very definition of a tyrannical government. And so that's what they seek to do. And the media is playing right into it. Of course, I believe, you never know. I won't even go off on that one. All right, TJ, owner of Faith Armory, glad to see you. There needs to be a federally accepted standardized definition of an assault weapon. I always want to be real careful. I don't know that I agree or disagree with you. I think we always want to be careful because whenever we start talking about ceding power to the federal government, like in this case, the definition of an assault weapon, whenever you talk about ceding more and more power to the federal government, it makes it kind of tough because then we start talking about states' rights. Now, in a state like California, what's the big deal? Because quite frankly, I don't think that the folks in Washington, D.C. can come up with anything more crazy or outrageous than the folks here in Sacramento have been successful in coming up with. But then again, there are people in free states, people who actually live in the United States of America or America that do have access to their rights, and stuff that could come out of Washington, D.C. could be much more restrictive. For me, I don't know that I would want to see me get some of my rights back and then cause others to lose their rights. That's not what this country's about, and I don't know that I support that. But I do hear what you're saying. I have an anti-gun friend who found out that I had an AR and immediately asked what I was planning. Wow. Yeah, you have to be planning something if you own an AR. Don't you know that? That's the funny part is that, but that's how people think. People's concept and idea, they think that if you have more than 500 rounds of ammunition, you're stockpiling. I'm like, that's not even a weekend at the shooting range. But that is the narrative. That's what they tell you. That's what when you watch whether it's in Hollywood or you watch the media, that's the narrative. The narrative is that if you own a quote unquote a military style assault weapon, if you have more than a certain number of rounds of ammunition, and then something's wrong with you. There must be something wrong with you. That's their mentality. That's their attitude. And I find it interesting because, in other words, what they're saying is there's something wrong with those of us who believe in exercising a constitutionally enumerated civil right. There must be something wrong with us. Now, once they get rid of that one, that's civil right, and they suppress our ability to be able to do that, well, then why not go after all of the other constitutional rights? Well, gosh, why do you need to go to church every Sunday? Why can't you just go one Sunday a month? In fact, why do we need all these different religions? Maybe we can just narrow it down to one or two, right? Matter of fact, why do we need religion at all? I mean, take the debate on guns, on firearms, and transplant it over to the First Amendment, and see how absurd, how totally and utterly absurd it sounds. Anyway, folks, I'm running over my time today, so I want to let you all go. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again tomorrow morning. You guys take care and stay free.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.